and welcome to this session to the Time Management Sutra. And regardless of what you might think this session entails, this one is a bit of a unique type of a session because of the content that we are going to be talking about. What is the Time Management Sutra? Before we get into those things, good evening, Jitin, Anshu, Mohanty, Durga, everybody, good evening. Nice to again be interacting with you. Always happy to do that. First, let me ask you this. Let us start with something interesting and then we'll circle around to this interesting thing and we'll have a interesting conversation around it. Have you seen this guy? Do you know who this is? This is, of course, Doctor Strange, and he's one of the superheroes, in the Marvel series. And the idea here is that this green thing that he has, which green stone hai, he's supposed to be the protector of that stone. Or ye green stone is apparently the time stone. So with the power of this stone, he can turn back time. He can go in the past, he can walk into the future, he can look at various possibilities. Ye time ka jo hai, it is the edifice, the universal constraint of time and the stone and this very powerful thing, etc., etc. Now we don't have the stone. We don't have anything similar to the stone. What we have is a few techniques. What essentially this stone stands for? ये stone एक metaphor है essentially. It's a metaphor for how time can be managed, manipulated, or even controlled. The question is, can we do something similar to Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange तो अपना जादू करके he can change time. But हमारे पास वो facilities नहीं है. What we have is something more practical, more useful. Let's start that. And in this time management sutra, this is exactly what we'll do. What is going to happen in this session? इस session में हम क्या करेंगे? I will take you through some facets. Every facet that I take you through, I will ask certain questions. हम comments में वो questions you can answer those questions. You can engage and we can have a discussion. And at the end of this session, I'll give you an assignment. और इस सेशन के एंड तक देखते हैं कि एक्चुअली प्रैक्टिकली एक्शनेबल पॉइंट्स कितने निकल के आते हैं. The thing is, why this thing is that time management sutra, it's not just a session on time management, is because it is practical. Number one, it will be customizable. आपकी situation के हिसाब से it should give you certain suggestions. That's the idea, and I don't think unless it gets you that, we're really hitting the nail on the head, because ultimately no human being can tell you what your timetable should be. कोई human being आपको आपका timetable नहीं बता सकता. Possible नहीं है ना? Because they don't know your unique situation, they don't know what you go through and what your priorities are. बहुत सारे factors हैं इसमें. Start करते हैं, ठीक है? Let us start. Let us start with the first one. This has six particular facets. The first one, the first pillar is this. The first pillar is reality versus expectation. What I mean by reality versus expectation is typically जब हम time manage करने की कोशिश करते हैं, whether you are a working professional or you are a student or you are a family person or you have a child to take care of, whatever it is that you are going through, you have a certain amount of limit. And most of the time जब हम time manage करने की कोशिश करते हैं, we are trying to fit the time. हम अपने जो टास्क है उसको हम टाइम में फिट करने की कोशिश करते हैं, चाहे हमारे पास टाइम हो या ना हो. मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम जब हम एक्चुअल कैलकुलेशन करने बैठते हैं तो हम रियलाइज करते हैं कि जो अवेलेबल टाइम है एक्चुअली उसको हमने कंसिडर ही नहीं करा. आई एम गोइंग टू आस्क यू अ फ्यू क्वेश्चंस और देखते हैं कि आपके पास एक्चुअली में टाइम कितना है. सो लेट मी आस्क यू अ फ्यू क्वेश्चंस एंड देखते हैं. लेट अस सी वेयर इट गेट्स अस. Let us see. My first question. I ask you the question. You type in the comments and let us see आप क्या बोलते हो. This is a question about today. आज के बारे में. It's a question जो आज का दिन बीता है आपका, उसमें when your day started out today, did you have a clear-cut list of tasks to be completed? आज जब आपका दिन स्टार्ट हुआ सुबह, इन द मॉर्निंग, डिड यू हैव अ क्लियर कट लिस्ट ऑफ टास्क्स अवेलेबल जो आपने रात को ही बना ली थी? डिड यू और डिड यू नॉट? दैट इज माय फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. डिड यू हैव अ लिस्ट ऑफ टास्क्स रेडी? नहीं था, कोई बात नहीं. गंगाधर के पास नहीं था, सागर के पास नहीं था, मेघा के पास था. Augustine says yes. Okay, that is fine. Sharmishta is saying yes also. Sharmishta is a new student of mine, a very bright person. Yeah. सो दैट्स गुड। अभी कुछ लोगों के पास था, कुछ लोगों के पास नहीं था। अभी हम वी विल हैव अ डिस्कशन अबाउट दिस कि जो टास्क लिस्ट थी कितनी वैलिड, कितनी साइंटिफिक थी। हम देखेंगे कि ये भी, इसमें भी एक ट्रिक फंसी हुई है। वी डोंट समटाइम्स ओवरलुक इट। पर ठीक है, जो भी है ठीक है, आप नोट कर लो, नोट इट इन योर माइंड, ये काम आएगा। सेकेंड, डिड योर डे पास बाय क्विकर और स्लोअर देन एक्सपेक्टेड? आज का जो आपका दिन बीता, क्या वो जल्दी बीता एक्सपेक्टेशन से, कि आपके पास टाइम था एंड इट ड्रैग्ड ऑन स्लोली? व्हाट इज योर एक्सपीरियंस सिटिंग हियर एट अबाउट 8 PM इन द इवनिंग? व्हाट वाज द पेस ऑफ द डे? डिड इट गो बाय फास्ट, पता ही नहीं चला कब टाइम निकल गया, कि धीरे धीरे बीता हो? व्हाट इज योर एक्सपीरियंस? क्विकर, रेणुका इज सेइंग क्विकर। Slower than expected, Sagar says. Most of the people say quicker, but some people genuinely also say that it was slower. Neutral. Pratik कहता है कि it was as expected. That's okay. That's also fine. See, if most of the times we realize quicker ही निकलता है, quicker ही निकलता है, क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं हम फैक्टर इन नहीं करते और टाइम निकल जाता है। बट अगर क्विकर निकला है, you see, अगर if it is fast going by faster than you expect, that means you are busy and occupied. आप जितना आपको लगता है कि आपके पास टाइम है उतना शायद है नहीं फ्री, शायद। if it is slower than expected, that means आपके पास टाइम है। most of the time it will be fast, but ठीक है, that is another metric. ये एक क्वेश्चन है जो हम at the end of the day पूछ सकते हैं खुद से। now my third question, मेरा थर्ड क्वेश्चन, ये थोड़ा और प्रैक्टिकल क्वेश्चन है। विच एक्टिविटीज कंज्यूम द मोस्ट ऑफ योर टाइम? सबसे ज्यादा टाइम किन एक्टिविटीज में बीता आज के दिन में? ट्रैवल, वॉज इट ट्रैवल? वॉज इट वर्क? आप काम कर रहे थे, कॉलेज गए थे, प्रोफेशनल ड्यूटीज थी, पढ़ाई में? वॉज इट स्टडिंग और वॉज इट समथिंग एल्स? वॉट वॉज द थिंग विच कंज्यूम द मोस्ट ऑफ योर टाइम? वेयर डिड द बल्क ऑफ द डे गो? Studying, unproductive, that's good, that's honest. Gangadhar is honest. Jyoti is saying work, tuition, study, working, coaching, watching the match, and that's fine. But watching the match का मतलब तो, yeah, all right. Doing housework, family responsibilities, ये सब चीज़ें नोट करने वाली हैं। ये सब चीज़ें हमारी रियलिटी हैं। जब हम टास्क लिस्ट बनाते हैं, जब हम अज्यूम करते हैं कि वी हैव टू डू अ सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ टास्क एंड वी एक्सपेक्ट सर्टेन थिंग्स फ्रॉम अस, ये सब चीज़ें वी हैव टू, मोस्ट ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो हम अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते, लाइफ में करनी ही पड़ती हैं, तो उनको अज्यूम करना चाहिए। वी शुड अज्यूम दैट दे आर देयर, वी कांट विश देम अवे, वी शुड इंक्लूड दैट इन आवर स्ट्रैटेजी। इसका पॉइंट यही है इस चीज़ का। आपकी ऑनेस्टी, आई अप्रिशिएट योर ऑनेस्टी, आई रियली डू, बिकॉज दिस इज द पॉइंट वेयर दी ऑनेस्ट रिस्पॉन्सेज विल लीड टू समथिंग वेरी प्रोडक्टिव। आप देखोगे धीरे धीरे यही ऑनेस्टी आपको आगे लेके जाएगी। Fourth question, what is the number of hours you spend doing things other than UPSC prep? UPSC preparation के अलावा कितना टाइम बीता? Another way of asking it is UPSC preparation में कितना टाइम बीता? How much of the day, how many hours, 1 hour, 2 hour, 0, 5 was in UPSC preparation only? How much was it? How much of the time would you say? 1 hour, 2 hour, 3, 4, whatever. Again, always, it's always best to be honest. Almost 4, that's a nice number. I remember even Sagar in the previous question mentioned that it was slower than expected and he still spent 4 hours in his day. That's interesting. Faridi has spent 6 hours today. 0 to something majority of the time. Okay, ठीक है. Again, I appreciate the honesty. 4 to 5, ये 4 to 5 आप कह तो रहे हो, 7 hours कह तो रहे हो, but I have my honest and serious doubts वैसे, to be frank with you. Research जो suggest करती है ये है कि I don't think 4 to 5 hours is easy to do with deep concentration. If you are able to clock this much, if you are able to clock 5, 6, 7, it is not a joke. बहुत अच्छी बात है। Piyush is saying 15, but Piyush, I know Piyush Meena. This is a very sincere guy. He is constantly in touch with me, and if he is saying 15, तो ये हो सकता है कि 15 कर रहा हो, because I know him personally. 2 hours approximately 4. ठीक है, good. Now my one question: What was the difference? अभी जो भी हो गया, we spent whatever time we spent preparation में. How much of the time what was the difference between your expectation and reality? आपकी expectation जो थी कि आज 5 घंटे 3 घंटे 4 घंटे whatever जो कुछ भी है, whatever your expectation was, उसमें और reality में कितना difference था? How much is the deficit between the expectation and reality? Then after that, I'll ask you one more question, which you will have to answer honestly, and then we'll be through with this particular section. We'll move on to the next. Daddy official says 1 hour. Sonia says half an hour. Mohanty saying 4. Concentration. नहीं गैप कितना था एक्सपेक्टेशन और रियलिटी में जो हम चाहते थे. गंगाधर इज सेइंग सेम. ओके, आई एम अनएबल टू कंसिस्टेंटली. दैट ठीक बात है, कोई बात नहीं, वी विल फाइंड अ सोल्यूशन. 40% डिस्पैरिटी. दीपक 60%. दीपक ऑनेस्ट है. फील है वाइड 55%, 30%, 60%. Didn't meet any expectations. कोई बात नहीं, that's fine. The important thing is to be honest and we'll figure out ways to do this. So देखिए ये reality represent करती है. This represents reality. Most of the time हम 20% overestimate करते हैं. We estimate the time it will take by about 20% and we should not do that. In questions का जो purpose है वो purpose ये है, we should realize before making our plans what is it likely to happen. हमारे अपने expectations moderate कर लें. 3940%. That is a Doctor Strange. This person 3940% जो बोल रहा है, this person must have the Doctor Strange powers. I am sure. इनसे पूछो secrets क्या हैं. 3940%. How they are able to clock that difference would be fantastic to know. Even Doctor Strange would be proud. Now my last question. After these questions, इन questions के बाद, इस reflection के बाद, इस थोड़ी सी reality check के बाद, what do you think typically, हफ्ते का average पूछ रहा हूँ मैं, I'm asking the average of the week, कितना time actually realistically है आपके पास UPSC के लिए? Honest जवाब क्या है इसका? What is the honest, true to your bones fact of the matter? Actually में एक हफ्ते में typically average एक दिन में कितना टाइम एक्चुअली है हमारे पास प्रिपरेशन के? दैट्स द क्वेश्चन. व्हाट डू यू थिंक? व्हाट इज योर रियलिटी? 6. फिर थोड़ा सा रियलिस्टिकली हमको लगता है 6, बट है क्या 6 की 6 की एवरेज निकलेगी? 6 की एवरेज तब निकलेगी, 6 घंटे की एवरेज तब निकलेगी जब कुछ दिन हम 10 घंटे करें, कुछ दिन हम 4 करें, तब जाके 6 की निकलेगी. दैट इज अ बिग डील एंड इट इज नॉट इजी टू डू. एवरेज ऑफ अ डे आई एम आस्किंग. 78 आवर्स तो पमरीत बहुत बड़ा नंबर है. 78 आवर्स इज अ ह्यूज नंबर. आप सोचो थोड़ा रियलिस्टिकली. इनफैक्ट व्हेन यू आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन, आप थोड़ा सा गो बैक इन योर मेमोरी, जॉग योर मेमोरी एंड आस्क योर सेल्फ, लास्ट वीक कितने घंटे निकले थे, एक्चुअल प्रोडक्टिव घंटे कितने थे. दैट इज अ रेलिवेंट क्वेश्चन टू आस्क योर सेल्फ. अब दीज आर नाउ रियलिस्टिक नंबर्स. 27 आवर्स पर वीक ये रियलिस्टिक है, 50 आवर्स भी रियलिस्टिक है. होगा, सबकी सिचुएशन डिफरेंट है, बट जो हमको लगता है वो विशुअल थिंकिंग होती है बहुत बारी, वो नहीं करनी है. वी जस्ट वांट अ नंबर, ये नंबर हमारे काम आएगा. 14 तो थोड़ा कम है. वील हैव टू फिगर आउट अ बेटर, वील हैव टू एक्सपैंड दैट. 14 आवर्स इज रियलिस्टिक. यू आर कैलकुलेटिंग एट आई थिंक 2 आवर्स अ डे, बट फॉर मेनी पीपल, फॉर वर्किंग प्रोफेशनल्स, फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर इज कि यही रियलिटी है. ठीक है, नाउ वी हैव एन आइडिया. जब हम आगे जाएंगे, व्हेन वी मूव अहेड, जब हम अपने गोल सेट करेंगे, हम अपने वीक की एक्सपेक्टेशन सेट करेंगे, व्हेन वी एक्चुअली सेट आवर डेली टारगेट्स, दीज आर द फैक्टर्स दैट वी शुड बेयर इन माइंड. हमारी रियलिटी के हिसाब से टारगेट हम सेट करेंगे. इसका ये पॉइंट था, बट इट विल बिल्ड अप टू समथिंग. नेक्स्ट, मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट, एनर्जी मैनेजमेंट. नाउ माई क्वेश्चन टू यू इज दिस. You have found that you have certain time, and of course आप जो भी करते हो टाइम को मैनेज करने के लिए, you will do what you will do, and that's appreciable. My question is this, आपके पास ये घंटे हैं 40, 30, 20, 25 जितने भी हैं, how much of this time is actually time when you will be productive? That is the next factor to consider. एनर्जी कितनी है हमारे पास? टाइम तो है, we have the time. If somebody like say Shreya Like Shreya, who has 42 to 43 hours, if Shreya suppose is a working professional, अगर वो काम करके घर आके कुछ पढ़ने की कोशिश करती है, तो क्या उसके पास एनर्जी है उसको करने की? Can she actually process things? हाँ, Shivali knows where I'm going with it. I am talking about energy management, and I am talking about the fact that energy levels fluctuate. Energy levels fluctuate during the day. We need to know what the reality of the situation is as far as arc levels are concerned. And again, I'll be asking you certain questions, and we'll see where that takes us. A few questions. Are you ready? It should be interesting. Let's say I am not a morning person. You say mornings, मुझे तो आज तक नहीं हुआ. Never been able to be productive in the morning. Somehow my mind is just haywire. I can't focus. I have brain fog. I mostly start to think properly after 6 p.m. For some reason I don't know why. But that is the point. हर किसी का different होता है. We should know our patterns. This is the only point of this question. So, my first question. Did you experience a dip in energy after lunch? After lunch or during the mid-afternoon, was there a dip in energy? Did you experience a dip in energy? Maybe you did, maybe you did not. Most of the times, especially after a meal, you will experience that. Or this dip in energy is an interesting biochemical pattern actually that we have. It has something to do with cortisol levels. Cortisol is this hormone which the body releases in response to stress. And normally speaking, cortisol peaks during the early afternoon. Normally, typically. It can fluctuate, of course. But again, इस क्वेश्चन का पॉइंट ये है नवीन संजना कि ये एक डेली का कंसिस्टेंट पैटर्न है फॉर मोस्ट पीपल. अगर ये पैटर्न है तो इस टाइम पे ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम डिफिकल्ट कॉग्निटिव टास्क्स शुड नॉट बी शेड्यूल्ड. Difficult cognitive tasks like learning something hard, memorizing stuff, testing or whatever, writing something or answers, something which requires really for you to concentrate and give it everything you have is not the best idea because उस time पर mind active नहीं होता है, and that has to do with certain biochemical changes, has to do with certain hormones. That hormone, the implicated hormone in the equation is cortisol. It's not your fault. It is a circadian rhythm pattern type thing, which is biology. It's not your issue. Yeah. Gitika, I'll tell you, that's what we're doing here. We'll have much more of a conversation about this. Now my next question. We'll go straight to the point here. My next question is this. अगर आपको पता है what your patterns are, if you know the patterns of your day, are you scheduling the hard tasks on those high energy periods? In those high energy periods, are you actually using the correct period for the correct type of tasks? I've given you the simple thumb rule. High energy, difficult tasks, couple them. Low energy, easier tasks. Manish is saying not every day, but sometimes he feels this after dinner. So that's fine. But are you using your high energy periods? First of all, you should know what your high energy periods are. हम सबने देखा कुछ लोगों का मॉर्निंग है, कुछ लोगों का इवनिंग है. नहीं, अभी most of the times we don't do this. ये करना है हमको. You know why I'm telling you this? Because after I'm done with all of these questions, on the basis of these questions, you will design a timetable. On the basis of all these questions, you will design a timetable and then you will email it to me. That will be your homework assignment. तो ये बहुत relevant questions हैं. इन insights के basis पे हम एक timetable बनाएंगे अपना. And one of the factors that you will consider while making that timetable is मुझे अपने दिन में लो एनर्जी पीरियड्स पे डिफिकल्ट टास्क अलाइन नहीं करने as far as possible. ठीक है, those who are using, it's very good. Next question, and again this is an important question. So we know that we have some periods of weak energy or energy dips. That is normal. The energy can dip due to a number of reasons. Maybe it's travel, maybe it is something or the other. Whatever it is, my point is this. What are you doing to increase the energy? There are some things we can do for increasing energy. We can use caffeine. Tea and coffee both contain caffeine. We can use certain stimulants. We can use a power nap. You can use a light snack. Do you use any of these to increase energy? अब suppose, let us take the example of Megha. अब मेघा के पास टाइम कम है. She is busy and she has a lot to do. And she knows that she has this time where her energy levels are low and she needs to get some things done. So obviously she can crank up her energy artificially. Paramjit plays with the dog, you take coffee, water, sleep. Yeah. So these, ये जो जितने interventions है ना, I am suggesting you time them. Time these. Time them right before the low energy period. Intake the caffeine at that particular time, not when you want to just have coffee because you feel like it. Time the nap. Time the nap. As soon as you do any of these things, your energy levels will increase. Obviously, that is what you do. Time these right before your low energy periods. That is what I'm suggesting. Is that okay? Is that appreciable? Meditation. Piyush is saying uses meditation. Well, I'll be very frank and honest with you, Piyush. When I do meditation, it does not increase energy. It increases clarity, and in fact, it requires a fair amount of willpower. Actually, meditation में willpower मेरी तो लगती है, and it is a very बहुत activation energy is very high उस activity के लिए. It's not exactly a cakewalk. But anyway, now we know energy levels. हमने अभी तक we have covered two facets of it. We have covered reality versus expectation. We know कि हमको conservative रहना है. We know that we have to be realistic. We know that we overestimate कितना time लगेगा by 20%. Conservative numbers लेके the next thing we know we have discussed is energy management. We have discussed and seen and figured out. We can basically appreciate that energy levels change होते हैं during the day. There are ways to increase, supplement it. You can crank it up artificially, and the way to do it, you have various ways. Combine these. Now moving on to the third facet. Task setting. And this one is very important. I would say the most important, and this is where most people make a mistake. They make fundamental mistakes actually here. And we all have this tendency to make to-do list. To-do list तो हम लोग बना लेते हैं. और most of the times our to-do lists are basically wish lists. Wish lists. You see, the fact of the matter is that the currency of productivity is not time. It's not time you want to manage. It is your energy. It's your energy and it's your focus that you're managing. So to make sure that whatever periods of time you have focus in those times, because if you can do that repeatedly, you'll get a lot done. Otherwise, having time in itself is useless. Having time in itself is futile if you cannot concentrate. And one of the things that helps us is a to-do list. To-do list is a double-edged sword. A to-do list is not a medicine. It is not therapeutic. It can be the opposite of it. Most of the times our to-do lists are nothing but wish lists. वो सब चीजें लिख देते हैं जो हम चाहते हैं कि हम कर लें. But again, that is not realistic. When you create a to-do list, there is one thing I want you to remember, which is very important. And what you must remember while creating your to-do list is that there are two certain types of mental activities. दो type की mental activities होती हैं. I have mentioned this before. One is execution. The other is planning. You cannot do both at the same time. Your mind can't do both at the same time. अगर suppose प्रतीक ने या दीपक ने decide करा, suppose they decide that I'll have a sitting and I'll study history at this time, or I'll do something at this time, and they don't have a to-do list ready with them. What will happen is that they will sit and then they will start to plan. You can't plan and execute at the same time. They are two different mental functions. And most of the time, जब हम कुछ actually में जब हमको करना कुछ होता है, when you have to do something that we really need to get done, what we end up doing is the opposite of it. We end up planning about how to do it. That's a problem. That is the thing we need to figure. And again, like I said, a few more questions now. Here is a question. When you make your to-do list, how many tasks are there? Normally, this is my to-do list. This is my very simple and short to-do list, which I use extensively. I use a lot of these sticky notes. My question to you is, आपकी to do list में कितने task होते हैं normally? How many tasks are there on a typical day for you? Are there 2? Are there 3? Are there 4, 5, 6? For Parabji, there are 2 normally. Anonymous writer who looks a lot like Karl Marx has 6. Says 6 or 5 or 6, 3. 3 to 4. Before sleep 1 or 2. Before sleep 1 or 2 to-do list में है तो फिर वो तो फिर हो ही नहीं है ना, they are incomplete. But you say most people say 4 at least. 6. 8 to 9. 8. 3 to 4. Oh. Nancy says 4 to 5. All right. I mean, whatever it is, so here is the thing, the reason I asked this question. The fact of the matter is, never have more than 3. Don't have more than 3. If you have more than 3, it is likely to overwhelm you. And जो भी 3 हैं आपके, जो भी 3 task हैं, whatever it is that you have chosen to put there, they should be top priority. Top priority. 3 से ज़्यादा नहीं होने चाहिए typically. But these 3 tasks I am talking about are priority tasks. These are the tasks जो होने ही होने हैं, complete करने ही करने हैं. These are not smaller ancillary tasks. उनके लिए एक अलग लिस्ट हो सकती है. तो 3 is the optimal number. अब in order to have just 3 tasks, आपको बहुत वो करना पड़ेगा. You will have to have a lot of discipline. You will have to be very strict with yourself. You'll have to sacrifice a few hours. You understand what I'm saying? 3 is the optimal number. 3 is the magic number. 3 is a difficult number to achieve. But top 3 tasks of the day should be clearly delineated, ideally, and those are the ones which you will end up doing. 5 to 7 is too much, too many. 5 to 7 नहीं हो पाते हैं पूरे. Typically, anything above 4 becomes hard to manage और ज़्यादातर नहीं होते पूरे. That we should know. Another question. Are your daily tasks linked to your weekly goals? मतलब आपने आज का task तो बना लिया, you've made a task list and whatever, but is it taking you towards your weekly goals? उसमें is there any connection to the larger goal? And does it connect from day to day to week? You know what I'm saying? Or is it a little bit arbitrary? Kashiba, 3 is too less, but that is the price to be paid for deep focus. That is why the 3 tasks which you choose have to be extremely prioritized, and you'd have to be very strict while choosing what those 3 are, and you'll have to sacrifice the rest. So you say no. Daily tasks ज़्यादातर हमारे weekly tasks के साथ align नहीं होते. Some people say yes, some people say not at all, some people say no, and again, appreciable. The honesty is appreciable. Almost 90% says Lakshmi, and Aparna also says no. No, it's Pawan. Pawan is saying arbitrary. It is connected to weekly goals. Great if it is connected to weekly goals. Great. Most of the time, it's not easy to track it. ज़्यादा easy नहीं होता है track करना उसको. It can overwhelm us easily. It's not easy, but we should know. This is something we need to consider. We need to be aware of what the weekly task is. And you know, again, the important thing is, Deepak, Renu, Krishna, कि we need some feedback mechanism to tell us कि जो भी हम टाइम मैनेजमेंट कर रहे हैं, क्या वो हमको उस डायरेक्शन में ले जा रहा है जिस डायरेक्शन में हम जाना चाहते हैं. इज इट टेकिंग अस इन द डायरेक्शन वी वांट टू गो एट ऑल और नॉट, और आर वी जस्ट मूविंग फ्रॉम one task list to another, one day to another, without making actual progress? That becomes a question to be answered, and we'll answer it. But good, ये सब चीज़ें जो आप realize कर रहे हो, these will become the basis of your new schedule. Here is my question now. Again, a different question this time. When you make your to-do list, जब आपने to-do list बनाई आपने, तो the tasks, what is the nature of your tasks? Are the tasks specific? Are they generic? Are they open-ended? क्या है? बताओ. What exactly is it? What do you think it is? Your tasks, really, tell me, how specific are they? What I would say is this: if I have to study history, suppose I want to study history, then I will say that I will read this particular book from this page number to this page number, and I will then take this test or something. बहुत specific होगा वो task. My task could be एक phone call करना है जरूरी और किसी से कोई बात करनी है. That is a particular specific task, but it cannot be generic. Generic है तो it will not likely to lead to that satisfaction of having done a task properly. Generic नहीं होना चाहिए काशिफा. जनरल नहीं होना चाहिए, स्पेसिफिक होना चाहिए, बहुत स्पेसिफिक होना चाहिए. और द रीजन दैट द ओनली वे इट विल बी स्पेसिफिक, जब हम उस पर थोड़ा सा ध्यान लगाएंगे, विल स्पेंड सम टाइम, विल स्पेंड सम एनर्जी, तब जाके वो स्पेसिफिक होगा. और यही सीखना है हमको, यही सीखना है हमको. जिस चीज़ को हम टाइम मैनेजमेंट बोलते हैं, व्हाट वी कॉल टाइम मैनेजमेंट इज एक्चुअली दिस स्टफ. It is this stuff. It is us increasing our productivity, constantly becoming better, so that we take less and less time. We take less and less time because we waste less and less time. We waste less and less time because we know more and more. We know our patterns. We understand them. We know what happens in task settings. We know where we falter. We know we overestimate our time. We know we don't anticipate energy levels. Once you start doing that, आप realize यही करोगे कि जितना भी time है, उसमें बहुत कुछ करा जा सकता है. And you will actually you're very likely to start doing some of those things. यही आप experience करोगे. Then my question is this: How often are you frustrated with your task list? How often do you complete the task lists? Let me ask you, Nishu, this question. We'll talk about you being a student or not later, but whatever your task list is, what is the frequency of you completing it? 10 में से कितनी बारी task list complete करके सोते हो? Out of 10, how many times do you actually complete the task list and all of the check boxes are ticked? धीरज says never. तो obviously धीरज never, तो उसका मतलब task list में ही problem है, वो हमको better करनी है. Sometimes, नहीं, कितने percentage? 10 में से कितने? This is the number we want to know. This is, when you think about it, you'll start to realize what is the reality. Never is not an answer. Frequently is not an answer. What? 10 में से कितनी बारी? Arpita says 3. That's a good number. 7 out of 9. That's a strange metric, but all right. As far as we know what we're doing. 4.5 out of 10. Frustrated every second or third day, so that's about 30%. 7 out of 10, 7 times you completed, that's phenomenal. It's not a joke. It's a very nice number to have. 8, 4, 6, 5, you say 30 to 40% you have. 30 to 40% is, I can believe, to be realistic. 60% of the time Nishtha says. Nishtha bhi realistic hai. So ye hamari reality. This is the actual situation that we're in. And this is what you can expect. हम कभी भी ये एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करेंगे. We will never expect, because we are practical people, we are smart people. We will never expect to complete 10 out of 10 on a task list on 10 different days. We know that we need to maintain a level of 8 out of 10. अगर हमारा 10 में से 8 बारी टास्क लिस्ट कंप्लीट हो रहा है, 10 में से 8 का एवरेज है, we are on the right track. नहीं तो पूरी स्ट्रैटेजी में कोई फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम है. If you are completing the tasks 10 days, 8 days out of 10, you are on the right track. Your time management is good. You don't really need structural changes. But if it is not that, there is something wrong with the strategy. I am not saying that you don't have time or you have time. I am saying it clearly tells us you're not managing it well. If you start to manage it well, by obvious natural corollary, you will have a restricted, limited, realistic number of things on your task list. And if you have a realistic number of tasks on your task list, then you are likely to complete them more, and so that number will increase. So if you are not completing your task list most of the times, it means you are overestimating and there's something wrong with it. So therefore you must cut it down. So that 8 out of 10 is achieved. That is the metric, that is a useful metric to have, and that will help you. I hope that you understand that you can use that, right? Now let me ask you a few more questions about this. About this stuff, you can't ignore this stuff. Critical activities, fitness. I'm talking about fitness. I'm talking about sleep. I'm talking about health, socialization. सोशलाइजेशन, हेल्थ, एक्सरसाइज एंड स्लीप, ये कोई भी चीज़ हम इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते. These are things which we require in doses. Again, dosage is the important factor here. Dosage can be high or low. It depends on what you can afford, what you require more of, what you do not. But ये भी include करना है. When you calculate the time available, you must know that this is a factor to be considered. Appreciable, understandable. This is something very important. And most of the times I don't think we actually use it as well as we should perhaps, because या तो हम अंडर एस्टिमेट कर देते हैं या हम ओवर एस्टिमेट करते हैं. पर्टिकुलरली स्लीप इज द फर्स्ट कैजुअलिटी मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स फॉर एस्पिरेंट्स. फॉर पीपल लाइक अस, वी सैक्रिफाइस स्लीप फॉर द मोस्ट पार्ट, एंड दैट सैक्रिफाइसिंग ऑफ स्लीप इज नॉट अ ग्रेट आइडिया. बहुत रिसर्च आ चुकी है इस पे. देयर इज टू मच एविडेंस नाउ एंड यू विल एक्सपीरियंस इट योरसेल्फ. इफ यू सैक्रिफाइस स्लीप, अगर आप स्लीप सैक्रिफाइस करोगे, you will be okay for a day or two. Then it will start to cost you. And performance will go down. It won't go up. जैसा कि होना चाहिए. धीरे धीरे डाउन जर्नी स्टार्ट हो जाएगी. वो नहीं करना है हमको एक we need a modicum of an amount which is required. 6 to 7 hours of sleep धीरज कम है. और I'm not suggesting कि हर रोज हमको जिम करना है. Every day we need to. No. We need a particular number of hours of exercise a week, and I'll give you some statistics. I'll give you some numbers here, some things which will help you. Normally speaking, 7 hours is the bare minimum. और again, like I'm saying, sleep को sacrifice आप तो बिल्कुल नहीं कर सकते. आप लोग sleep को बिल्कुल sacrifice नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि आपके लिए brain health बहुत important है. आप तो you are playing with the brain, right? The only thing that you are competing with is your brain. Brain health के साथ आप compromise नहीं कर सकते, because you are aspirants. You are in a cognitive competition. You are in an intellectual competition. This is the muscle you are using. इसको हम damage नहीं कर सकते. For UPSC aspirants, it is particularly important to have that sleep, because brain health gets damaged by sleep deprivation. It is super clear. There is no ambiguity about this anymore. 7 hours is a typical. 7 hours is the minimum normally. और अगर हो सके तो nap is also important. I would say जितने भी factors हैं, sleep, health, socialization, number 1 पे sleep होना चाहिए priority में, because it is the one factor which directly feeds into productivity. कितना समझ में आता है, कितना ध्यान लगता है, how much you can retain, how much you remember, how much you understand, which dependent on how you feel, how your brain feels. Have you noticed that you don't sleep in the night? Suppose you have a really bad night's sleep. Suppose you couldn't sleep, perhaps you had a disturbed sleep, whatever. The next day, does your brain feel like it's the best version of you? Does the brain feel like it is supporting you? No, it doesn't support you. It will give you a hard time. You will want to put it to sleep. You'll have to put it to rest. You'll have to. There isn't any way around. You can't bargain with your own brain, you see. So don't mess with it. The brain is important. Sleep is directly linked to brain health. Do not sacrifice it. Exercise is also important. Exercise, the amount of exercise is important. 4 to 6 hours a week is all right. It's good. 6 hours is great. 6 to 8 is really nice also. If you can manage about 6 hours of good exercise a week, good to go. You can do this on alternate days also. You can do this on alternate days. Maybe you can do this, if you wish, distribute it across the week, whatever you want. That's completely entirely up to you. My suggestion here is एक चीज जरूरी है. Gym करना है तो gym is one form of exercise. You could do gym, even dancing is a form of exercise, yoga is a form of exercise, whatever you want, it's up to you. Choose the format of exercise that you enjoy. वो format आप choose करना जो आपको enjoyable लगे. Whether it is putting on earphones and going for a walk, or it is going for a jog, or it is going to the gym, or whatever it is. 4 से 6 घंटे करना ही करना है exercise हमको, और 4 से 6 घंटे हमको वो करनी है exercise, preferably जो हमको अच्छी लगे. This is going to help your brain. Again, it has to do with the brain fundamentally. It will release certain happy chemicals. It will increase your learning potential. It will increase your attention span, your motivations, your dopamine levels. ये सब कुछ connected है आपस में. सब चीजें connected हैं. Ultimately, हर चीज brain health से link होती है. Right? So that therefore it is important. I don't need to tell you that you need a fair amount of healthy social interactions. Healthy social interactions चाहिए होते हैं हमको. Healthy social interactions का भी dosage है. Dosage is important and it varies from people to people. People who are introverts, they don't really require too much. बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं होती introverts को social engagement की, but उनको भी होती है. But if you are an extrovert, you may require more social stimulation. But again, you figure this out. This is up to you entirely. And this is your call. You decide how much you want, but don't cut it out. अपने आप को isolate नहीं करना है. Isolate, if you start to isolate yourself, depression will set in. I don't care how introverted you are. We all need social interaction. We all need people around us. We all need to have a healthy conversation. We all need to have a laugh or two. We all need to have a conversation with people that we actually like. We all need to be in situations where we are not judged with our friends or our family, whatever it is. And again, in a word, in a single word, the thing which is making all this impact is oxytocin. Oxytocin. Oxytocin is the bonding chemical. This is the chemical which is released when you have a healthy social relationship with somebody, when you form bonds. Without it, your brain will not be happy. Let's just put it that way. Alright, so it's important. Again, जब आप ये सब चीज़ें करो, before you start to sacrifice these things, remember कि ये मेरे brain health के लिए ज़रूरी है और उतना ही करना है जितना ज़रूरी है, ज़्यादा भी नहीं करने की ज़रूरत. Obviously, goes without saying. Now we come to deep focus. This, I will not get too much into this. आप समझ गए हो मेरी बात को. So far you have understood a fair amount of what I have said. When I talk about focus, and I am talking about the fact that when you sit down to read history or when you sit down to read geography, it is only geography in your head. It is only geography in your head. Understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying you sit down, start read the NCERT and make notes. ठीक है, that is one thing. You are in deep focus. आप deep focus में तब होगे when you cannot even remember your own name. Tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm correct. When we are locked into a movie or a video game or a book or a textbook, कभी कभार periods आते हैं. There are periods. There are these time slots. There are these moments. There are these minutes when we are lost in the text, in the content. We are lost not in our thoughts. We are lost not in our daydreams or our aspirations or our worries or whatever. We are lost in the content itself. उस content में we merge. The boundaries vanish. There is nothing else but what is happening there. अगर geography है सामने तो दिमाग में geography दिख रही होती है. You can see the geography in your mind. It's a visual experience. Visual होता है वो experience. सामने text होता है, but your brain is translating the text and you are involved to the point that you can see stuff in your mind. Visuals, not very vivid visuals, but आपको पता है कि आप engaged हो. और जब हम engaged होते हैं तो honestly we don't realize we are engaged. You only realize that you were focused when the focus is broken. जैसे ही focus टूटता है, you realize, oh, I was focused. Why did I lose it? And this focus is the trickiest of them all. This is the trickiest part of the whole thing. Why is it so tricky? This is tricky for a number of reasons. Our mind is not suited for long periods of concentration. It was not designed for it. It is designed to be anxious. It is designed to worry. It's designed to anticipate danger. It's designed, for being on the move, for being curious. If you wish to increase focus, another thing I should tell you, this is a muscle जो बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रेन किया जा सकता है. जिस लेवल पे कुछ लोग अपना फोकस लेके चले जाते हैं is ridiculous. It is possible. The people who do it really well, and I would say professionally, really super professionally, are the monks and the people who are meditators. Meditators do this all day long. This in fact becomes their full-time work, you might say, in a way, in a manner of speaking. And if you can achieve this focus, you have to train this. The longer you're able to focus, the more intensely you're able to focus, the less time you will need, the more you will engage, the more you will retain, the more you will write, the better your experience will be. And another thing which comes with it, जो हम लोग ignore कर देते हैं, अगर हम focus कर पा रहे हैं, it gives us a feeling of control. We can control. हमको पता है कि अगर आज ये करना है, मुझे पता है कि focus मेरे control में है, मैं बैठूंगा तो हो ही जाएगा, मैं पढ़ लूंगा उसको. I don't have to be dependent on the whims of my concentration. Maybe I can concentrate, maybe I can't. That's not the situation I want to be in. I want to be able to focus on demand. वो focus on demand के लिए हमको meditation करनी पड़ती है. We have to do meditation for that. Not because we want to achieve spirituality or we want to achieve some spiritual achievements or perhaps some milestones. The reason we need this stuff is because it's a muscle. It's a muscle. And it has to be trained, and you can't get it without it. The best training for it, I've already mentioned, is object-centered meditation. Object-centered meditation. We'll have a discussion about it. This is something which I cannot just talk about. ये सिखाने वाली चीजें हैं. This is something which will have to be taught. So we'll have some more sessions about this where we'll actually practice some techniques of meditation and of focus. Let me bring you now to the last element of time management. I don't know, Basi, do you realize or not, but so far, how much time did we spend on time management? हमने टाइम की बात कितनी करी है? हमने बात करी टास्क मैनेजमेंट की, हमने बात करी एनर्जी की, अभी हम फोकस की बात कर रहे थे. उससे पहले वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट स्लीप and we were discussing how much exercise is required. We are talking about to-do list. Time management kahan hai? Where is the time management? You see, the time is not the thing to be managed. वो तो जितना है उतना है. The only thing to be managed as far as time management is expectations. To know कि है कितना. And then to use all these tools to maximize what you have. हम time तो create कर नहीं सकते. It goes without saying. We have what we have. We have to work with what we have. The point is, if you optimize all these factors, you will get the most of it in any situation. In any situation. See, that is what will happen. Now, this is a bit of a twist in the tail, you might say. Stealing time. What do I mean by stealing time and sacrifice? There is one thing you can do. एक चीज हम कर सकते हैं लाइफ में, और वो है sacrifice. That is sacrifice. My question to you, let me ask you some question, Palak, to answer your question. Let me answer that question with the question itself. Are you sacrificing enough, or are you sacrificing too much? Let me ask you another question, a more pinpointed question. Today, how much time was spent on social media scrolling? Honestly बताइए, how much time did you spend today scrolling on social media or chatting or whatever? How many minutes according to you? I'm asking this to everybody. How much time today, honestly tell me, scrolling through YouTube Reels or Instagram Shorts or whatever, how much, Rahul, कितने मिनट एक्चुअली में निकले होंगे? एक्चुअली बताओ, honestly. और अगर नहीं आपको पता है तो यू कैन चेक योर फोन यूजेज, पता चल जाएगा कितना. Shivam says, to what, Shubham? 2 minutes, 2 hours or what? 10 minutes maximum. Rahul is a very disciplined guy. I can't manage 10 minutes. You know, honestly, I'm telling you, I am addicted to the bloody thing. I can't do without it. Most of the time, it hooks me. The Facebook algorithm has me hooked. I have so many times I try to delete it, I again uninstall it and I start scrolling before I go to bed. Less than 30 minutes. You guys are far better than me. You are doing much better than me, I can tell you that. ये Lakshmi 2 hours is much more to the reality. Aisha is 4 hours. हाँ, ये है reality. You know, the average person checks their email 250 times a day. The average person checks their email 200 to 250 times a day. I don't even know the statistics. I don't want to repeat the statistics of what our social media usage is, but it is a lot. अच्छा खासा टाइम हम लोग इसमें बता देते हैं. ये sacrifice किया जा सकता है, इसकी जरूरत नहीं है हमको. It makes us feel good temporarily, but this is not what we really need. Let me ask some other questions. What exactly is the period? What exactly is the number of hours that you can sacrifice and create for preparation, but without compromising on your health and those other things? कितना टाइम दिन में है आपके पास जिसमें आप actually that you can sacrifice and you can take from other activities? जो हम हेल्दी तरीके से निकाल सकते हैं बिना कोई अपनी हेल्थ पे या स्लीप पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज करे. हाउ मच टाइम डू यू हैव? कितना टाइम निकाला जा सकता है? एंड माई नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज what exactly are the activities that you can cut out and sacrifice? हो सकता है ना हो. It might be Chandni is busy, she is married, she doesn't use WhatsApp. ठीक है, her situation is different. Maybe she can't afford any more sacrifices. उसकी situation होगी and वो अपनी जगह ठीक है. बट कितना टाइम हम निकाल सकते हैं सेक्रीफाइस करके? अब अगेन फिर वही चीज, द सेम पैटर्न आई नोटिस. 5 घंटे कहाँ से निकालोगे आप? 5 घंटे कहाँ से आप सेक्रीफाइस करके निकालोगे? क्या सेक्रीफाइस करोगे ऐसा कि 5 घंटे निकल आए? अभी हमने डिस्कस करा कि हमारे पास रियलिटी में टाइम तो होता नहीं है, एक्चुअली में होते हैं कुछ घंटे ही. फिर हमने डिस्कस करा कि हमको हर चीज़ को टाइम देना है. सम ऑफ दीज थिंग्स आर सुपर इंपॉर्टेंट, यू कांट बी इग्नोर्ड. तो फिर 5-7 घंटे कहाँ से निकालोगे आप? I think you are being slightly over optimistic. Rishika is saying 12 hours. Rishika is saying I will sacrifice the 12 hours of my day, and I don't know how she'll do that, but it's surely interesting to imagine. Sleeping less. Sleeping less नहीं करना है दुर्गा. Sleeping less ही तो नहीं करना है. Sleeping less is not an option. जो बेकार के काम हैं, जो जिन चीज़ों में प्रोडक्टिविटी नहीं है, वो आपको पता है ज़्यादा क्या है. कॉलेज, प्रांजलि से कॉलेज नहीं जाएंगे. अरे भाई कॉलेज क्यों नहीं जाओगे? कॉलेज जाना है आपको. यू मस्ट गो टू कॉलेज. यू हैव टू गो टू कॉलेज एंड एक्सपीरियंस व्हाट द कॉलेज इज ऑफरिंग यू देयर, यू नो. हाँ, सोशल मीडिया, ट्रैवल टाइम, जो जो कर सको आप. देर आर वेरियस थिंग्स विच यू कैन डू टू हेल्प यू विद इट. My point is, कुछ so let me ask you another question. अब this time answer with more realism. How many hours in a week can you take out that were being wasted and put into UPSC preparation? How many hours in a week can you take out that were being wasted that can be put into UPSC preparation? How many hours do you think you can take out? Weekly. The weekly number. 2 hours. 2 hours in a week. That's Yuvarani, I understand that it's not easy. Not easy to have a baby and do all this stuff simultaneously. It's not easy to do this stuff with pretty much everything. Whether you have a job or you have other things going on, I understand this. Ooh. Rishika, your situation is different, then you must seek medical advice. 6 hours, 8 hours, हाँ, 6 to 8 hours, 6 to 10 hours is the normal time जो आप निकाल सकते हो. This is a realistic number. 20 hours is a lot. But अगर 30 hours, Krishna, if 30 hours you can take out, then means you're wasting too much time as of now. If 30 hours is at your disposal somewhere. Piyush, 14 to 16. ठीक है, I believe you. 10 hours you mean? Not a single hour, okay, Saloni, that's understandable. Not everybody can do this. Whatever time you can, you should. That's the only thing. This is another thing to consider. Now, coming to your assignment. बहुत simple assignment है आज का. बिल्कुल भी complicated नहीं है. बहुत ही easy है. हालांकि इतना easy नहीं है actually. It's actually a test of fire. But I told you a few things today. I'll revise and I'll give you a shortened version of it. I'll give you a bit of a list. We spoke about reality versus expectation. We spoke about energy management. We spoke about task setting. We spoke about critical activities which should not be skipped, which are important for your health and your mental health and your mental well-being and overall well-being, etc. We spoke about focus and stealing time. ये सारी बातें ध्यान में रख के, while keeping all these insights in mind, can you send me a timetable? Can you send a timetable to me as your homework? But that is not the test of fire. That is the easy part. That is the way, that's how it starts. The test of fire is this. जो भी टाइम टेबल आप बना के भेजोगे, can you follow it for 7 days straight? That is the test of fire. I am asking you that based on these parameters, based on these suggestions, based on these insights, you design a new timetable for yourself. You send it to me, and then you follow it for 7 days. If you do that, then you have actually made a change. ये सब ज्ञान किसी काम का नहीं है, ये सब ज्ञान बिल्कुल बेकार है unless it is put to practice. अगर आपने ये कर दिया 7 days तक, it will probably make a very lasting change. ये बहुत लंबा चलेगा फिर. It will keep on spiraling into better and positive habits. Anshu already sent, you must be following the time management sutra. All these things I sent to you are actually part of the time management sutra, which I sent 7 days. I break it apart into days and I send one each day. But this was a nice summary that we had, because everything in one place, we had not done that before. So this is your homework. You are using these insights. No more utopian timetables. No more idealistic wish lists. You use these techniques, these ideas to make a realistic timetable. You follow it for 7 days. And you can report to me every day what happened. How much of it were you able to actually follow or not? That you can report to me. And if you can do this for 7 days, it would be very appreciable. I'll publicly appreciate you. And I'll actually be very happy to know that all this stuff, all these efforts and everything, or whatever it is that we are doing here, is actually making an impact. Lakshmi had sent it. Lakshmi, I appreciate that. Pranjal will try. Piyush, I know definitely करेगा. Piyush पे मुझे भरोसा है पूरा. नेहा, we are making a new timetable. जो भी timetable है, अब हम उसको change करके एक नया बना रहे हैं इन parameters को लेके, and then we are trying to follow it for 7 days. नंदिनी, अगर दिवाली है तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Include it. अगर दिवाली है, हमको पता है कि आगे टाइम कम है, we will include it. हम expectations ही कम रखेंगे, but हम बिना expectations के नहीं घूमेंगे. कुछ तो target रखेंगे हम खुद को, right? कुछ तो हम देंगे ही. We will not just be entirely free floating because of Diwali. Because as the Diwali will not last the whole week, right? It will consume a few extra hours of your week, but that's about it. That's about it. Yeah. Okay. This is your task. बड़ा simple था. कोई time management इसमें थी नहीं. Actually में time management है नहीं. कुछ और चीज़ों की management है. That is what we wanted to do. That is what we did. All our discussions were about that. We had some interesting insights. और आपने बड़ा realistically, honestly जवाब दिया. I really appreciate. Is what will actually take you to your goal. This was a very simple session. Simple session था, but important था. और ये सब चीज़ें when we talk about them openly, you know, जब हम ऐसे बात करते हैं इन चीज़ों के बारे में, तो हमको realize होता है कि बाकी लोग भी उसी situation में हैं. We find that we are all in the same situation. We are all human, and we all have different issues. So your issues of time management are not unique. And we are all, since you know we are all human, it automatically means we all have the same tendencies to overestimate, to procrastinate, etc., etc. And therefore we all have the ability to cut short our wasted and to do really, really much better than we do. Yes. You will get the emails, don't worry. Sometimes there is a gap because I have to write those emails, you know. मुझे बहुत लिखना होता है, and it takes me time to draft those emails. एक email मैं खुद draft करता हूँ. Sometimes there is a gap, but the emails are not going to stop because I am working on many assignments such as this. आ जाएगा, email आ जाएगा आपको. Don't worry. All right, that is your task. Very clear, very simple. Test of fire. Create a new timetable based on these ideas. Send it. Follow for 7 days. That is what we are doing. And if we can do that, then Dr. Strange will be proud, and who knows, I might send you a gift. I'm not committing anything, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Thank you so much for listening, for being honest, for being respectful, for being polite, and for coming. That's the best part. You came to this session for time management. It means you care. You actually care about this stuff. That is the best part. That means you've already started. Okay. So now you started. Don't let the momentum break. Get it done. I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much and good night.